Good morning, folks. I'm going to hopefully check in on the chat. It is not updating on my OBS. Otherwise, this is going to be a weird stream. Camera's not working. Well, I wish technology would behave a little bit more, but anyway, let's get on with it. I'm making some cool pixel art for Tomodachi 8-in-1. We have a game that's all about choosing the perfect birthday cake. And to that end, we're going to make some cake sprites, we're going to make some toppings to put on the cake. Last time, I worked on this chocolate cake sprite a little bit and some toppings to put on it. We have a strawberry. We got more strawberries. I think this is how I want this to appear in the game. That we'll do 3 strawberries for strawberry. We got some blueberries. We got a different version of blueberries. We got blueberries as a sauce. I'm not totally sure which one I like yet. Might go with the sauce, not sure. It might also be something where we have to make some compromises in our artistic vision when we go to put this in Pico 8. That's something I might end up doing on the stream today. One more, we got whipped cream with a cherry on top. And I've been working on these frosting roses. So I think I want to do a little bit more work on these. In particular, these are both the exact same rose, and I think having a different variation might look cool. Again, if we can work it within the Pico 8 limitations, then we'll do that. So, how can we make this rose look distinct from the other one? And also, I don't know, I'm still wondering what I want to do color-wise. Should this be highlights but in cream instead of white? Actually, I think I would need to do that the same on both of them. But I think that looks kind of nice, and it does also still afford me a opportunity to do one brighter highlight tone. Who's to say what the right way to shade this is? I don't know. I'll just try a bunch of things, see what we like. Currently thinking the dithering got a little too aggressive, and I want to pull back on that. Alright, I see I've been painting this layer wrong. We're going to go ahead and merge that. Okay, so I said I want to do a variation on this. Not sure what I want to change though. That's the hard part. Could flip it left, right. Slightly different size too, I don't know. Yeah, maybe mirroring it's enough variation. I don't know. I don't know. Get a leaf on there. Pull in my reference art again. Interesting, a lot of these don't seem to have leaves. Some of them do. Having the center line make it look more like a leaf. Center stem. It's gotten some leaf vibes. I'm remembering when I don't usually rotate stuff in pixel art, it just doesn't tend to preserve a lot of the same logic or detail that you previously had. So, and that's just, I don't know, I guess that's a natural consequence of working in such a tiny resolution. But like I wanted this center line to be preserved, and as soon as I rotate, it's no longer really a connected line anymore. This is a real quick way to try out some new things, so. It could just be a mirror copy. Who knows? No, I like it better as a... Change the axis as well. Change the angle? Change the angle. It's not so bad. Okay, I'm gonna try one more thing with these roses. We could do these in red. I feel like the deep red frosting color seems to be a little bit less represented in our reference art, but well, there's some red roses here too. Can't say that's not a thing. So, what if we tried that? Let me go ahead and merge these. Then we'll duplicate them, and this will be red frosting roses. That doesn't need to be copied, that can just be frosting roses. Or maybe pink frosting roses. Okay, we'll hide the pink one. The reason I think this might end up working better is that the pink was such a light color that if I wanted to find a shade tone to use with it, I was pretty limited by the number of light colors in the palette. Let's do this is the fast way, actually. Do replace color. We'll try switching from this one to dark red. And we do have multiple options for what we can use as a lighter shade tone with the red. First, we can, for the darker shade, I think we can use this maroon color just fine. And for this lighter shade tone, we got orange as an option. We also have pink as an option. I feel like the orange is working out for me a little better. And then that still leaves these light highlights, and we can use the pink there, maybe. How does that compare? We can turn the red roses, we got pink roses. I was worried because we already have the cherry and the strawberry that are using red, so I wondered if using the pink for the roses would make that stand out a little bit more or feel a little bit more unique. I do kind of like the red. Let me try one more thing. What if we tried purple? I'm going to be trying to get this color index 13 to work out. I know it's not the like most purpley purple out there. Orange is probably not going to work as a shade tone then. We got blue, maybe. I actually kind of like that. We got gray. I think that makes the frosting look a little dull. You know what, I want to try this gray, and then I want to try using the blue as this sort of more sparingly applied shade tone. I'm still on bucket fill, that's not what I wanted. could use it more. Could do blue flowers. What if roses are blue? I'm not sure I can get that to work. No, I'm realizing I kind of lost the form here where it's not really clear to me which parts should be highlights and which parts should be shadows. Realize I ended up with a broken outline there. Probably the case here too. Alright, that's filled in. Is an option. I think keeping this to a more controlled palette might look better. Alright. Last question. Do these leaves need an outline? A lot of my topping choices here do have some kind of outline. And there's options. We could use a darker outline. Kind of what seems right to me. Outline doesn't work, especially not against the brown cake. I don't know. We'll leave it without. I'm going to start answering a question that is going to affect some of our other artistic choices here, which is how much of this can we fit on the sprite sheet? So, I want to make a new sprite. It's going to be 128 by 128, which is exactly the Pico 8 sprite sheet's size. Go ahead and save this as Cake Sprite Sheet. And let's start bringing in our assets here. Go ahead and turn on a grid as well. Each of these is 2 by 2, well, 16 by 16, which gives us 2 Pico 8 sprites wide and 2 tall. Not mistaken, I think our strawberries are exact copies, so I really only need to bring one over. Going to just fit, not quite fit a 16 by 16 sprite. That's all right. Needs to, but I'm packing that in here so that there's no overlap between the rectangle for this cake and the rectangle for the strawberry. You know, I'm gonna go ahead and make it more obvious where the cake rectangle starts and ends. Let's go ahead and put in a background color. Okay, and I can erase 1 pixel. And our strawberry, we'll give that a bounding box as well. That looks like. Do that whipped cream with cherry next. Hard to get the exact bounding box. Combine this as one sprite, which is probably better than drawing it as two separate. It'll save me some space on the sprite sheet. That's quite low on the other one. I don't know, I think that looks good though. I discovered a very useful thing that I kind of wish I had known about before, but apparently control and scroll wheel will change the brush size in a sprite, and I'm sure all the veteran spriters out there are wondering how I could have ever gotten anything done without knowing that already, but it's the first time for learning something, for learning anything. I'm gonna figure out what we're gonna do for the background on this one, because I can't very well use, you know, I think I can use this yellow. I haven't really used that anywhere in any of these sprites, so that should be a valid background thing for me to use here. I do want to go ahead with the red one. And if we change our mind later, we have all the other ones still there, so. Something I might try to do, if there does end up being enough space on the sprite sheet, and it looks like there might be, is trying to get these to align a little bit more to the grid, because that will make it easier to implement in Pico 8. Alright, I'm going to figure out which of our blueberries we're going to pull over. So I'm going to try this compote one, because it does look like we might have room on the sprite sheet for it. blueberry sauce, we got roses, we got strawberry, we got cherry with whipped cream, and we got our base cake. I remember one of the other things I wanted to do was candles. And the candle flame itself I was going to do some procedural stuff for, but the candle, the, I don't know what you call it, the body of the candle, the wax part, that might be something we use a sprite for, so it's good that we have some space here. Alright, I want to go ahead and try to arrange these a little bit more sensibly. Maybe use the grid nicely. Yeah, I'm mildly irked that this strawberry just barely doesn't fit a 32 or a 16, excuse me, a 16 by 16. Maybe we'll just fudge that. Yeah, looks okay. I'm gonna make this strawberry a little juicier looking. I think this pink ended up being something I used to kind of like anti-alias the edges here, but could also be a light reflection color. If I get this to line up the way it's going to against that sprite, it'll be a little easier to place in engine too, so we'll do that. pretty happy with how this is coming together. We can try putting this in the engine. The last thing we need to do to export this, I'm gonna we'll make a individual sprites layer. Sprites group rather. I'll duplicate that. We will flatten visible. All right. Now here's some cakes we had before. We even started doing sparklers and candles and stuff. But for now, we're going to save this as something else. Cakes too, why not? All right. And here's something we can do in Pico 8 to pull in the sprite sheet. If you drag and drop a PNG, and we have just such a PNG here on our desktop, we'll pull that in. And now we've got all the sprites here in our Pico 8 file. I think if I run this is going to look like a mess because we're drawing all the wrong things in all the wrong places. So we've got some color palettes, we've got the cake sprite itself, and we need to figure out which sprite that is. And I think that's sprite 0, and it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 sprites wide. I gotta remember what my draw SPR function does. Okay, so it's same argument order as SPR, and in fact, if we hit Command U, Control U, excuse me, we can look at what that does. So we are going to draw a sprite with index n, that's the first argument, and then the x and y position are the next two. I don't know if that's right or not, but we need to be 10 sprites wide and how many sprites tall? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 sprites tall. Our overall cake is actually smaller than what we'd had in the other test. Get rid of that, okay. Yeah, that's what this looks like. And there it is with our various palette remappings. I think for this vanilla cake, I also want to remap color 1 to color 4. Something like that. That's looking good. For the strawberry cake, we can map color 1 to color 3, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, I was mistaken. I should map it to color 2. Okay. And this Baja glass cake, we gotta figure out what's going on with that. So we ended up calling it the XD random cake, not to be infringing on anyone's naming strategies, but so now the other thing I think I want to do is here where I'm clearing the screen to color 1, I'm going to use color 5 instead. That'll give us a more neutral background, and we can use the other colors as cakes. Use the other colors for the cakes. Let's see. I think I want to map color 15 to 11. And I want to map color 2 to color 3. Yeah, that looks like how I think that's supposed to look. For a loose value of supposed to, it's an interesting cake decorating choice. Okay. So we pick a cake, we're supposed to be able to pick a topping next, and all of those are mapped to the wrong sprites now because we've changed our sprite sheet layout. Strawberry needs to be sprite 74. And it should be 2 by 2. There's strawberry. Blueberry is this whole blueberry sauce compote thing, and that starts at sprite 128. I guess the offset needs to be the same as the cake offset, so that'll probably be at -52. And I think this might also be 10 sprites wide. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Maybe just 9. Alright, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sprites tall. There's my candle. There's no candle, but there is a candle flame. Okay, there's a couple spots in this blueberry Sprite that didn't end up being filled in yet. And I think we need to do that. That's a spot. That's the spot. Maybe that one should be this one. And then also, I want to offset this a little bit further down, I think. It's more sitting on maybe just 1 pixel. Yeah. Seems alright to me. One thing that's bothering me is this corner comes to a very sharp point. We can soften that a little bit, like that. Better. Okay. We need a cherry. Cherry is where on our sprite sheet? It is here at sprite number 76. And I think we want 4 sprites wide and 4 sprites tall. What are we doing for roses? Did we ever implement roses? No, we didn't. Roses are just not, just empty. So make a sprite for them. And that's going to be sprite 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 sprites across, 4 tall. So, of course, placing these at 0, 0 is not going to work out. I think probably the right place is to start by figuring out what the full width of this is. And it's going to be 48 because it's 6 sprites across. 6 times 8 is 48. We want to go half of that. Negative 24 in the x direction. Better. And then something in the y direction as well. Probably less than -24, but maybe -10. -6. Okay. Gotta fix this cherry as well. And same situation here. If we subtract half the width, that's going to be -16. Also -16 on the y direction. A little better, but we probably want to nudge it to the center of the cake. No. Here we're putting these decorations and things. I guess we're just putting them at whatever their default position is. So the strawberry is 2 by 2. If that's going to be -8, -8. Hi Kata, I just noticed your message. My chat window is extremely small and I have to squinch to read it, but good to have you around. I wonder if for the blueberries, the way I want it to look when you haven't selected it is probably going to be different from when it's on the cake. I have to make a different sprite for that. doing the checkerboard dither for these. So we should do that here too. Alright, so we'll call one of these blueberry sauce. Gosh, that's getting long to type. Right, blueberry sauce, that's going to be that one, and then the regular blueberry is going to be this one, which is 106. And I want to put this at probably -8, -8. It is 2 by 2. So now our option for choosing blueberries is going to use the blueberry sprite, and then when we have picked it, then we're going to use the blueberry sauce. And that should let us do something like this. Let's do 0 and X, and then maybe 94. So what I want to do here is that I have this this choice carousel thing that lets me rotate through the options, and whatever thing I pass into it here is what it's going to use as the preview. But I don't think I want it to just draw the sprite directly. I think I want to give that an offset so that it shows up more legibly, more fully on the screen. So I'm just putting in this extra function call to move the option to further down the screen. I'm gonna call this topping preview. Maybe we'll call it that. It's a more legible thing to call it. End up having to do the same thing with the cakes, because otherwise they're not quite in the center after we place them. So for the cakes, we're putting them at exactly the dead center of the screen. Looks like. Cake base, okay. Where's cake base come from? Comes from here. First thing I want to do is make sure that this cake gets drawn relative to its own center. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Negative 40. No, X direction, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Minus 32 in the Y direction. Yeah, now these are a little too a little too high to see, but we can do the same thing we did with the toppings and add an offset to our cake preview. And we're going to nudge these down probably a little bit more than 24. Maybe we'll do it at 48. Okay. Okay, let me pick that. Alright, doesn't look like it's nudging left and right, but it is further down, probably because we put the preview at 48 and then the whole thing is being drawn at 64. Yeah, 64. another concept here, which is what the offset we want to actually draw the cake that you've selected at. And that's probably not going to be 48. We'll get to that in a sec, but this is where we need to call that. Yeah, that's too far down, so just instead of 48, we'll do it maybe 24, maybe half as much. Okay. We can adjust our blueberry sauce. So instead of being at minus 52.1, that needs to be at the same offset as the cake. I think that's still not quite going to end up lining up because we nudged the cake placement down, but we didn't nudge the blueberry placement down. So when we do blueberry sauce, also want to do same offset. Hey, not bad. Alright, we'll save that. And we didn't end up adding a preview for our decorations yet. So I'm going to add that at least for the roses, because I think we figured out what that's supposed to look like. Yeah, that's here. And again, we want some offset. Maybe I can use the same one as the toppings. Right, and then the roses need their own offset relative to the cake because we're not drawing them centered on the cake. We're drawing them where they go, which is like around the edge. I'm just going to guess at a number here. So X I did minus 12, I probably meant plus 12. Maybe even plus 20. Okay. And Y we did negative 12, I think maybe negative 8. I'll pull this back as well, 19, 18. Okay. Clearly Eventually I'm going to have to figure out the layering thing here too, because we've got the roses being drawn on top of the cherry instead of behind. If I'm feeling real lazy about it, what I might do is just move the cherry so that it doesn't overlap in viewport space, in screen space. The only thing I really want to try out, I want to try out this vanilla cake with the whipped cream on it. Yeah, because we lost some of the detail now that we're using this cream color for both the whipped cream outline and the cake. I wonder, I think the solution to that is going to be just making sure that we have right, like as a shading thing, I had this line of pixels here that was both part of this checkered board dither and right up against that outline. I think in order to make sure this outline reads, we need to bump it out 1 pixel so that we have that separation. Kind of works. It also, I end up having the whipped cream blend in a little bit to the frosting ripple. So that's something to revisit later. I think what I might end up doing is having the in the sprite sheet, I'll use some, you know, off color for the outline, some color that I'm not using already, and then we can dynamically palette swap that outline for something that'll contrast nicely. But first I wanted to figure out where to put all these things. Rose placement looks good to me. Blueberry placement looks good to me. We can even stack the roses on top of the blueberries, and that doesn't seem too bad. I do wonder if I end up making that blueberry sauce a little smaller, and there will be less overlap there, because it does look a little awkward. Yeah, we got that, we got whipped cream, we got roses. Okay, so that needs to be stacked in the other order. We got strawberry and roses, and that also is stacked poorly. And one other thing I said that I was going to do with this strawberry thing was, like we were going to do some cloning, get multiple strawberries on here. And the way that I've been doing all of the drawing here is with these suspended calls. And so what that looks like is I have to return a function, and the function I return has to do the drawing. So this is going to do multiple calls to S, which is our strawberry. And where do we want them? We want them one of them has to go to a few pixels up. Maybe something like that. So we get 3 strawberries, and those are still too close together. But that's the idea. Go negative. There we go, we have multiple strawberries now, and they're about where they should be. Now I think we're running into the issue where if I put roses on top of strawberries, they're going to layer all wrong. So first thought is, what if we bump everything to the left a little bit? And left means this needs to be more negative, and this needs to be less big. Okay. Looks like an okay strawberry placement. Alright, so this looks not so bad. We're definitely going to have to reorder the draw layers so that the strawberry goes on top. But at least they're not overlapping each other excessively in 3D space, that is to say. It's a very red cake. Candles. Sparklers. I'm really quite proud of this sparkler effect. We got 2 different layers of sparks going on. We've got the little fizzly layer, and then a few bigger pops that come out every once in a while, and I think that really adds to the vibe. Anyway, I'm gonna end here for today. We're at just about at the end of the stream time. Next time is going to be, I'm actually not sure just yet. Something we talked about was trying out a different streaming schedule, and that's why we're here on a Wednesday. And we've also made a poll to ask folks what days work best, and it's heavily contested, or heavily divided, shall we say. So possibly our next stream will be back on a Monday, but don't know just yet. And I think next week we are likely to be off still. So we'll see you in a couple of weeks. If you are not already following us on Discord or Instagram or places where we post about streaming, please do that. You can find our Discord on playterranova.com and follow us from there. What else do I want to say? Do all the things that internet people tell you to do, like and subscribe, and we have a Ko-Fi, ko-fi.com/illumines, if you would like to support us in making games and doing silly pixel art things. One more announcement. If you've not played it already, Help, I've Been Cursed with a Bubble Butt is now on sale. And you can get it for the low price of 280 yen. It was already a pretty affordable game, I think, to begin with, but do check it out. Alright, take care. I will see you next time.